Hello friends, welcome to the studio with me. I am Tiana and I am a fluid artist that creates pour paintings inspired by the farm life. I grew up on my family's farm in southern Wisconsin, and that's where a lot of the inspiration for my pieces, my abstract art, comes from. I recently tapped into my Instagram community, which if you aren't following me there already, please go find Studio Sweet Tea on Instagram. But I reached out to my Instagram community and tagged a few fellow friends in agriculture to share some photos from their farm and their backyards and their ranches and their operations so that I might drum up some inspiration for my next piece. And Amber from Wisconsin gave me, I had to start with this one, with this set of photos, because Amber is a cranberry grower in Wisconsin. Her family has been growing cranberries for over 100 years. She is the 5th generation in their bogs, raising the 6th generation with her family. And she sent me a few photos that I just the colors and the vibrancy of them. Obviously, I just had to do it. I've got to create this piece. There's a vision in my mind, and I am so excited to make it come to life on the canvas here today. I'm going to explain a little bit more about the inspiration of this piece and hopefully tell you a little bit more about cranberries grown in Wisconsin along the way. As always, the colors that I will be using are listed below in the caption, so please check them out there for a full list of all the colors that I used. But obviously from Amber's photos, that beautiful, gorgeous cranberry color is going to be a staple and a centerpiece of this image. And then I'm also going to be incorporating some winter colors, and I will get into why that is the case and where this inspiration comes from in just a moment. But just to give you a quick background, I'll be layering the colors that I have into these 2 cups here. One colored dark colors, one light color, and layering them little by little, kind of like how you would do a layered shot glass. So Wisconsin is actually #1 in the nation, in the United States, for growing cranberries. And they grow really well in central Wisconsin because of the sandy, acidic soil that is there. And I had the privilege of meeting several cranberry growers and touring cranberry bogs, even being part of a cranberry harvest when I was the 68th Alice in Dairyland. Alice in Dairyland is a really well-known public figure in Wisconsin agriculture. It's a 1-year full-time contract position with the Department of Agriculture, Trade, and Consumer Protection, so it's a full-time marketing communications job. I held this job when I was I had just finished up my master's degree, which I did in animal sciences at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And this was my crash course into communications in agriculture and storytelling. Cranberries obviously are a perennial vine. They grow in bogs. They bud and flower in the springtime, grow through the summer. They're harvested in the fall, and most people tend to think that cranberries are grown in water, but actually they're just harvested in water. They flood the bogs, and the cranberries, since they're hollow on the inside, they float up to the top, and that's how they harvest them off the top of the water. Now, in the winter time in Wisconsin, this is a prime example of how farms don't stop ever. 365 days a year. In particular, drip on the canvas. This has one of my signature moves is to drip on the canvas before I ever get any color on there. So after harvest and all of the fruit has been taken from the bogs, what growers do is they will flood the bogs with water and create layers of ice, mainly just to serve as an insulating blanket for the vines throughout the winter, throughout the harsh Wisconsin winters. Every 3 to 5 years or so, they will also pour a layer of sand over the top of the ice. It helps promote new growth with the vines, once the ice melts and the sand filters down. And then it also helps suffocate any pests that may have really buried themselves down deep there through the winter time. So I think I'm pretty happy with where this cup is going. You can see all the beautiful layers within this cup, the colors of the cranberry. I did put in a couple layers of black in there too, just to have a little bit of separation in between the bold red colors that are going on. But I'm really excited to see how that comes out of the cup. Now I am going to start with the winter layers. For this ribbon pour, what I will do is start with one color. Usually I try to do one at a time and then go back in and fill in the gaps with the second cup. So I think I'm going to start with the snow colors here today. So I almost don't even want to pour it out of this cup because it's just so beautiful layered in there like that. But I'm excited to see what comes out onto the canvas here today. Okay, ready, set, go. All right, I think my gut is telling me that I may actually need some more paint. So we're gonna pour this one and see what happens, but I'm fully anticipating I might need to make myself another cup. Ooh, this is gonna be some beautiful contrast, I think, with this white. I think I will need another cup here, so I can't decide if I want more white or if I want more red, maybe some of each. Okay, I think I'm going to continue on with my cranberry colors here, and then come back in with the snow white. Okay, yeah, there we go. Good canvas coverage now. Okay. So with the ribbon pour, I love the horizontal layering of this so far, because it's kind of what I was thinking in my mind is the layers of the ice and the snow and the sand over the top of the cranberry vines in the wintertime. That's what made my mind think of doing a ribbon pour with the layers. But sometimes with these pours, I'll tend to tip it around too, and we might get a little bit of a fluid effect too. So I'm just excited to see how this pans out. Moment of truth. actually, now that I put more paint on the canvas, I actually have more than enough. And I think I can tip off some of this here. And then really stretch out some of these ribbons so that there's a little more dynamic color going on. Okay. And then bring the weight of the paint back to the center just a little bit. And I do know that I want to mix up this perspective already. I mean, I'm not unhappy with it by any means, but I do, I mean, the cranberry color obviously wanted that to be the focal point. I do think it's a little intense down in this corner here, and even over here, but I do, oh gosh, there's some of that beautiful bright red, this beautiful bright red that's coming out over here, so I don't want to mess with that too much. I almost wonder if I can just walk it down this way a little and then down this back corner. There's still just slightly too much paint on this canvas, so sometimes you misjudge what is needed and you just go with the flow of what ends up happening. Okay. Oh, I do really love all the movement that ended up happening over in here. And there are even some nice, beautiful little cells popping up there. My gut is just still telling me that there's a little bit too much paint on this canvas, though. Whoops. And what happens then if there's too much paint left on the canvas when I go to set it in my drying rack to dry is that it runs the risk of cracking or crazing as it's drying. And that simply, I mean, there are a few reasons that can happen, but one of the reasons is if you have too much paint, acrylic paint can dry at a different rate on the top than it would in the middle or the lower like layers from top to bottom towards the canvas. And you want that to be a consistent drying rate so that it doesn't pull at the top of the layers, on the surface of the paint, and that generally can lead to cracking. So that's what I'm concerned about with just having too much paint on the canvas now. So I'm still trying to decide then, where do I take this off? Because I really am, like I said, I am really liking this corner down here now, that movement. I really wasn't going for like an overwhelming amount of this 24 karat gold in the piece. So I'm wondering maybe if I just honestly like take it off that corner there. And then that would allow, I think, this center part to stretch out a little bit more. Sometimes when you're doing this, there are parts that I do like and I would love to keep under normal circumstances and everything, but I just know I know a little better than to leave too much paint on the canvas and risk ruining the entire piece, even though I really adore a portion of it. Actually, I'm gonna go off the edge that way. There we go. Okay, I think that's actually, this is good now. This is much better. I am going to walk it back down diagonally again just to get everything back into the center of the piece a little bit more. But try to do it a little bit slowly just so that I don't interfere with a lot of the beautiful design that's kind of coming to life here now. Okay. So here's I obviously did not even try to do this because when you are doing abstract art and in particular pour painting, you don't have a ton of control over the final design that comes out of all of this. You at a certain point have to just kind of go with the flow and let what happens. However, right here, you can see this piece here. And if I turn my head this way from this perspective, you can see it a little bit more. But right here, there is, I think, the semblance of a bird or a bird's head right here. And this is the beak. Funny thing about cranberries, they are called cranberries because they were originally called the cranberry, because the flowers in the springtime before the fruit develops looks like the head of a crane. So that was something really beautiful and unexpected that I did not anticipate coming out of the process of creating this piece. But I mean, and that's also just, that's what I see. Somebody else might see something entirely different. And that's also one of the beauties of abstract art, is that the inspiration for the piece came from a cranberry bog in central Wisconsin from my friend Amber, and combined with a creative flair, hopefully I can bring this to life in a unique way with a different perspective that maybe hasn't been done before. So everybody has their own interpretations of the abstract art and what they see in it, and that's honestly sometimes what I love to hear the most. So I would love to hear what you see in this piece and what your thoughts are. Ask me questions. Feel free to drop them in the comments below. If you want to know more about my process, have questions about cranberries in Wisconsin, I'm happy to try to answer. I will probably consult with Amber or my fellow friends in the cranberry growing industry too. But that's also one of the beauties of the agriculture community, is it is a very small, tight-knit, close community that leans on each other quite heavily. And it's a very small world once you get to know the world of agriculture. And that sense of community is something that I love so much about it. I think that completes our cranberry journey for this piece. If you liked this video, if you would love to see more of this content, please give my channel a subscribe. I will be creating many more videos of fluid art inspired by the farm life. And I'm really loving the richness of these cranberry colors. So maybe I'll even do an entire cranberry series of pieces. Maybe cranberries through the seasons. So thank you so much for joining me today. And again, thank you to Amber for sharing this inspiration with me. I hope you're able to see it, and maybe you see some essences of your cranberry bogs in it. And I will also drop a few links to some resources from the Wisconsin Cranberry Growers Association in the description below too. So if you are curious about how cranberries are grown in Wisconsin, check those out. And I hope that you enjoyed watching this piece come to life, and maybe you learned a little bit of something about how cranberries are grown as well.